Tonight we're focusing in on Zoom with Galaxy AI on the new Samsung Galaxy S24 Ultra. Ah, a baby tiger. Check out his claws as he prepares to pounce on that frog. Close one, but not as close as this Zoom. We can literally count the whiskers and... Oh look, Mum's here. Good thing I'm nowhere nearby. Go wild with Galaxy AI on the new S24 Ultra and zoom in on the epic day or night.
Get yours now at Samsung.com.
Hello, America. It is Eric Erickson here across the nation. The phone number, 877-973-7425. Should you wish to be on the program, you can always find me on social media and the like by texting Eric, E-R-I-C-K, to 33777. Well, we have news. To put in perspective, and I mentioned this even yesterday, that at this time in 2019, there were 10 Democrats running for president of the United States. 10 Democrats running at this time in 2019. When you go back to January of 2015, you had 7 Republicans already running for president of the United States the year before. We are now about a year from the Iowa caucus. Donald Trump is the only declared Republican for president of the United States. But the word on the street is that on February 15th, Nikki Haley, ambassador to the United Nations, governor and state legislator for South Carolina, will be announcing she is running for president of the United States. Now, the reaction from a lot of people today was, or she can't pull this off, or why bother? This is going to be DeSantis Trump. Trump's going to ignore her. She's not a threat. I would not be so dismissive of Nikki Haley if I were you. I happen to know something about Nikki Haley. She actually is a friend in the actual friend sense, not a friend in the political sense. She and Michael, her husband, wonderful people. Her parents, I've spent time with her parents. She is someone who can navigate the cultural political landscape of America and has a very good conservative instinct and one hell of a story. Her parents coming from India, where they were essentially royalty, so to speak, and giving it all up, coming to the United States. I remember her mom telling me the story one time of Nikki's grandmother coming to the United States for the first time to see the family. And Nikki's mom was vacuuming, and it so upset Nikki's grandparents to see Nikki's parents working that they got up, went to the airport, and flew back to India. And her parents were first-generation American immigrants to this country. She is an American success story. And I don't know that a lot of people know that about Nikki. I don't know that they know her background and her story so much. And she's now got a chance to resell herself in a way that maybe she hasn't been able to sell outside of South Carolina before. She did not have to, being a presidential appointee to the United Nations. I would not be dismissive of this for a lot of reasons. And I do need to say, going into this, you know my bias. She is a friend of mine. I do like her. I was supportive of her when she ran for governor. But let me set the stage for why I think this is a unique candidacy for the presidency, and it's going to be interesting to see where it goes, how it plays out. It's been very clear she was laying some groundwork for this, and now we know she's preparing a video. It'll launch February 12th, February 15th, somewhere in there. Press reports out. Yep, February 15th. This is from the Post-Courier in South Carolina. Cementing what had been in the works for months, former South Carolina Governor Nikki Haley will formally announce she's running for president, will seek the Republican nomination for the 2024 ticket. According to an invitation soon going out to her backers, Haley's advertised special announcement will come February 15th at The Shed at the Charleston Visitor Center, a downtown gathering spot that could draw hundreds of supporters into the heart of the city's tourism district. The confirmation she's entering the race came January 31st from a member of Haley's inner circle. She teased at running for the White House for months, increasing her footprint on social media and in national interviews that she was leaning towards an official bid. I want to go back to the beginning. Nikki Haley was a CPA in South Carolina. we could probably actually use one in the White House. She was a CPA. She ran for the state legislature in South Carolina. She became, if you will, she moved into the wing of Mark Sanford, who was the quirky South Carolina governor. Now, this is before the Appalachian Trail and all that. Just set the stage here. So Mark Sanford wins in South Carolina, and he goes against the good old boy network grain of South Carolina politics. Though South Carolina had shifted Republican, there was a lot of those Republicans had been Democrats, very much like in my state of Georgia. A lot of the Republicans had been Democrats. They became Republicans, and it was an all shucks good old boys network. And across the board, one of the things they opposed was transparency. They liked to go to Columbia and have no one know exactly what they did. They were in the pocket of the local Chamber of Commerce. They were willing to spread the wealth around, to win friends, influence people, attract business. There really wasn't an ideology other than propping up a status quo. In comes Mark Sanford, who's this reformer as governor of South Carolina, and he wants change. He wants transparency. This in South Carolina, the legislature did not have to record their votes. You could not tell how legislators voted on big votes. There wasn't a way to figure stuff like that out. And he wanted things like that. He wanted more budget transparency. He wanted to be able to attract business to South Carolina without opening the treasury of South Carolina to bring them in. He wanted to provide incentives for good business and good stewardship without all the waste and inefficiencies of a typical Southern government. And he fought the legislature and won several times, and along the way attracted into politics people like Nikki Haley, who was a fiscal conservative. She was socially conservative in the sense of South Carolina conservatism, but she's really focused on we gotta fix our government. We need transparency. We need sound fiscal reform. We need to make South Carolina good for business. We need to not disadvantage our small businesses to attract Fortune 500 companies. We need to be a place where they can all do business together without picking winners and losers. Just make South Carolina a place that is business friendly overall, deregulate, promote the free market, and business will come to South Carolina. They had a port. They've got great airports. They're on the coast. They're in the southeast. It's a perfect, logical place if they play it right. And so Mark Sanford did these things, and his government fell apart when he went hiking on an Appalachian Trail, which was euphemism for having an affair with a woman from Argentina and lying about it. He left. Lieutenant governor takes over, not exactly the most popular person on the planet, was very much with the good old boys, and Nikki Haley decided to run for governor. This is 2010. So Haley decides to run for governor, and she's running against the good old boy network. They slandered her. They accused her of being a whore. I mean, literally, they accused this woman of being a whore, sleeping around with people. They just made stuff up about her and her husband. Nasty, nasty character assassination of Nikki and her husband, who's in the military. And the grassroots gravitate to Nikki Haley. They're tired of the good old boy system. When I was at redstate.com, we backed Nikki. She came to our gathering in 2009. We began fundraising for her nationwide, promoting her as a conservative reformer who was really committed to small government. Didn't just preach it, she practiced it. She got into the runoff. One of my honors in life was she invited me to come to the steps of the state capitol in South Carolina and introduce her and Sarah Palin, who, having lost in 2008 with John McCain, was a force within the Republican Party and endorsed Nikki Haley and pushed her over the top, and she won. She became a very good governor in South Carolina. One of the things she committed to doing was forcing through transparency reforms, and they fought her. They fought her, and she won. And then that horrible day came. She had won re-election. And that awful day came when Dylan Roof went to AME Church in Charleston, South Carolina, and prayed with those people before murdering them. And this woman, whose parents were immigrants to the United States, and she a first-generation immigrant into this country, and first-generation American. Neither black nor white. In the crossroads of life in the South, in the heart of the Confederacy, had to lead her state, which still flew the Confederate flag over the state capitol, and convince them that now was the time to take that flag down, to heal the state. And she built the bipartisan coalition, and some people still to this day hate her for doing this, built a bipartisan coalition and got the Confederate flag taken down from the grounds of the South Carolina state capitol, where it had flown since the Civil War, first atop the Capitol and then on a pole dedicated to it on the Capitol grounds. And when Donald Trump ran for president in 2016, she was willing to politely criticize him when she disagreed with him. He would attack her, and she would do her bless his heart routine, and was willing to not really turn the other cheek per se, but willing to push back on him politely, diplomatically, but she wasn't going to take his attacks when she didn't support him, and earned his respect and became the ambassador to the United Nations, where she went much in the vein of John Bolton when George W. Bush put him there, was willing to fight the United Nations establishment. She was willing to fight against the anti-Semites. She was willing to stand for Israel. She was willing to point out the absurdity of the Human Rights Commission of the United Nations being stocked with Iran, Venezuela, China, and other totalitarian regimes. She was willing to push back on them. She was willing to fight for reforms, to fight for other nations to pay their fair share. And when she left, she was also willing to criticize Donald Trump. She was one of the very few members of the Trump administration who was clearly supportive of the president's agenda, but was also willing to say he got things wrong. That's actually kind of an anomaly that set her apart. She's always been this way. She's willing to say what she believes is right and wrong. She's not willing to keep her mouth shut when she feels compelled to say something. And she was willing to criticize Donald Trump while still supportive of his administration. Now, the left despises that she would do this, that, with the left and a lot of the right, you've got to be all in or all out. You can't just be your own person and be your own thinking person and criticize when you think someone's wrong and be polite in it. And she did, and it earned her enemies on both sides. A lot of people are dismissive of what's the point? Why do this? I mean, this should be DeSantis, Trump. Why get in? Why not? She has something to offer. She has a record of racial reconciliation in the Deep South as a daughter of immigrants to this country who was a conservative. She has a record of leadership on the world stage as UN ambassador. She has a lot to offer to the campaign. I don't just say this as a friend. I say this as someone who has admired her ability to go beyond where she was in South Carolina as a CPA, to a state legislator, to a governor, to the United Nations ambassador, to someone who's going to run for president of the United States. Her story is our story. It is a remarkable story, a first-generation American now running for president of the United States as a fiscal conservative. If she was on the left, there would be hagiography from the media. This first-generation American running for president of the United States, there would be mass hagiography from the left. They would be celebrating this. Look at them with Kamala Harris and how they built her up. Nikki Haley would get that treatment, except she's not one of them. She's one of us. She's a conservative. She believes in small government. She believes in efficiencies of government. She believes in not letting the government do what the private sector can do better. And now she heads into the arena. A lot of people say it's a waste of time. She shouldn't do it. They told Bill Clinton the same thing in 1992. It was a waste of time to run against George H.W. Bush. It was a waste of time because Mario Cuomo was going to get in. It was all a waste of time. And now we call him president. Nikki Haley, welcome to the arena. Welcome back. It is Eric Erickson here. The phone number is 877-973-7425. If you want to be on the program, you are more than welcome to be on the program. The media cannot get enough of George Santos. Every day there are stories about Santos. I have the suspicion eventually they'll get bored with him. But the residents of his district, that's what I'm looking for, congressional district, they want him gone. Like 75% want him gone immediately. He doesn't have to resign. I do believe he's going to be hounded out of office, maybe prosecuted out of office. I think it's probably worth explaining to you what actually is going on here, just so you understand the situation with George Santos. The district George Santos was in, or is in, along Long Island, it went all Democrat to all Republican. It was not supposed to be that way. The Democrats in the state legislature overplayed their hand and drew districts that were offensive. I mean, Democrats complain about Republican gerrymandering schemes. This was an offense against even gerrymandering. Elbridge Jeremy, look at these. Damn, that was something. They designed these districts so that no Republican could win, and it offended the Democrats on the New York Court of Appeals, which is their Supreme Court. The New York has a Supreme Court, but those are the lower courts. The Court of Appeals is their Supreme Court, kind of confusing nomenclature there. But the New York Court of Appeals said this is absolutely absurd and redrew lines, and George Santos's district went from a guaranteed Democrat district to a guaranteed Republican district. He was already in. No one else was really running necessarily. There were a few people, but he had run before and lost, but had the name ID. He was the sacrificial lamb, and suddenly the sacrificial lamb hit the jackpot. No one paid attention to him except a local media outlet because he wasn't expected at the time to win. So a local media outlet covered the mass lying he had engaged in, and everyone just kind of, it went by the wayside until he actually won, which he was not expected to do and would not have done but for redistricting. It was just a very, very interesting design as to how he fell in. No one paid attention to him, and now we're learning all about him. The man is a sociopath. He is a pathological liar. He has made up virtually every single thing about himself and would not have been held accountable for it, and probably would have gotten a pass for everything, but for the fact that he won. Would the media give him more of a pass if he were a Democrat? Probably so. But even I think then they would still cover the story to a large degree because he wasn't the guy who was supposed to win. No one could pay attention to him. And now he is reaping what he sowed, and it's a fascinating story. But at some point, it borders on obsessiveness from the press because nothing new is in the story now once they've exposed all of his mass volume of lies. Welcome back, America. It is Eric Erickson here across the nation. The phone number is 877-973-7425. This feels a little bit like Groundhog Day. I have talked about this. We've all talked about this. This actually is a big story. It is a little Groundhog Day-ish. Tom Brady is retiring again. Again, because he did before and came back a few weeks later. This time he says it's for good. This is the Associated Press report. This morning I woke up to reports from the Associated Press, the Wall Street Journal, the New York Times, the Washington Post, Bloomberg News, CNN. It's a big story. The 7-time Super Bowl winner with New England and Tampa Bay announced his retirement from the NFL on Wednesday, exactly 1 year after first saying his playing days were over by posting a brief video lasting just under 1 minute on social media. Unlike last winter, though, the most successful quarterback in league history, as well as one of the greatest athletes in team sports, said his decision is final. Good morning, guys. I'll get to the point right away. I'm retiring for good. He is 45 years old and the owner of virtually every meaningful NFL passing record in an unprecedented 23-year career. this was not a good year for Tom Brady, and so this is the problem. And there's a large point of this. This isn't a sports show, but this is actually a news story that I think is worth covering. Tom Brady retired a year ago, and after several weeks came back and played a terrible year of football. And he should not be remembered for one bad year of football in a 23-year amazing record. He's the NFL's career leader in yards passing and touchdowns. He's the only player to win more than 5 Super Bowls. He's been MVP of the game 5 times. He holds marks for regular season wins, Super Bowl appearances, playoff games and wins, as well as playoff yards and touchdowns. He really is, so for a long time, people were using the word GOAT, and I had no idea why are they calling people a GOAT? Greatest of all time. He is inarguably, whether you like him or not, the GOAT in football. He holds the record for virtually everything. But I feel a level of melancholy about it. I don't know the guy. I'm not really even a fan. I've never really rooted for the teams he was on. I remember everyone in Georgia remembers the Falcons game. But to leave and then come back a few weeks later and watch your marriage crumble and your game performance crumble, I don't know. There's just something about that. Ahab trying to catch his whale. What whale was he trying to catch? What did he need to prove? Was it worth the breakup of his marriage? And the even late night comedy shows joking about his kids and the relationship with his kids, and it appears that there were other issues, and it does seem there were other issues. We did get that great line of Kenny F. Pickett didn't come back and leave his wife and kids to lose to Kenny F. Pickett, caught on camera. Everybody got to hear it. It was a funny line. So I think about this for a lot of reasons, and let me just deal with this one on a personal level here. I am only 12 years into my career. This dude, 23 years. This what I'm doing right now in talk radio. My flagship station, WSB, this is the longest job I've ever had. So I am, if you watch the video here, I'm in an office now for the first time. I've worked out of my home for almost 20 years. Which is kind of wild to think about. 18 years precisely now. I started at a law firm. In fact, in the building where I am for the studio, I've got near my house now. Finally moving out of my house where I've largely broadcast from my house to be in the studio. Philip is on the other side of the wall from me, who I talk about. He does all the digital stuff. If you watch stuff online, Philip is responsible for it. This is the first office he's ever worked in. He's worked with me since he got out of college and has never gone to an office. He's worked out of his home or out of a coffee shop. But now has a desk. I'm actually jealous about his desk. I want his desk. And I can't imagine now doing anything other than this, but it's so I'm one of those people, believe it or not, and I know I forget what the exact psychology of this is. My wife, who was a psych major, explained it to me one time, but I am in my mid-40s and still have the nightmare that I didn't actually finish my math class in college, and I'm a fraud. They gave me the degree, and I didn't finish the math class, and so I'm short of credit. So how did I graduate? I'm in my mid-40s, and I have this dream. Not often anymore, but I have this dream. Am I really a success? Will I be more successful? Will I grow? Will I expand? I want nationwide domination of radio. I can get to 600 stations. But how do you know? And when you get there, this is the other part of it. And this is the part with Tom Brady. When you get there, will you be satisfied? When you climb to the top of the mountain and your hands are raw and bleeding because of the rocks along the way and the rope burns along the way, and you can finally get to the top of the mountain and you can take the safety rope off and you can stand and admire the view, will you find pleasure in that? Or was it the climb? You weren't going for the view, you were going for the climb. I don't know. I would like to think that I could die behind this microphone, that I could do this show for another 30 years. And just, the greatest thing, wouldn't it? Not even have to worry about it. Somebody else can clear that. You're dead. You don't care. All those worries they literally go away. Just say, see you guys next week. Done. I would like to think that I would enjoy retirement and grandkids and all that stuff, but dying behind the microphone. We all know someone we all loved behind a microphone who passed away 2 years ago. And, gosh, I miss him. And he could have done this job for the rest of his life and had listeners. Life gets in the way, but will you find joy? Tom Brady is 45 years old. At 44, he left and then came back, and that last year hopefully won't define him. It'll be the butt of jokes for a while. He came back and choked in the game. And what was so interesting is that his games pre-divorce were worse than his games post-divorce. And so that led to a bunch of punchlines, that his game improved when the stress of marriage was gone and he could focus on the game. But what about his wife? What about his kids? What about the other part of life? And this is something I worry about with myself. And if nothing else, this is therapeutic for me to have this conversation with you where it's very one-sided. I, for 20 years, have worked out of my house. My office looks like a hoarder's nightmare. Like a hoarder from that Hoarders TV show would look at my office and get sweaty palms and anxiety looking at it. It's that bad. And now I'm in an office. I have this desk in this room, and there's literally nothing here. I have 2 pieces of paper on this desk today, and normally none. When I was in my home office, I would work out of my office, and I finally on the weekends had to set up a system where the lights stayed off so that I was not lured into my office to work, because I love my job. And I worry sometimes that my wife and kids think I love my job more than them, and I worry sometimes that maybe I do. What if someone like Tom Brady, who lived his life before a camera with his supermodel wife and his kids, and was always working, and an entire support system around him. And I'm mindful of that as well. And there's no fair comparison here at all. And I'm not trying to, but I am the sole income earner for my family. I employ multiple people. It is very easy to think the whole world revolves around me because of what I do, the money that I bring in that then pays other people. And it's hard to let that go as well. And now Tom Brady is letting that go again. He has a standing offer for his retirement to become a commentator on Fox Sports for next year. We are headed to that bizarre point in the world where there's nothing to watch on TV on Sunday nights. You got some hockey left. Hockey, of course, will last until the summer probably. And maybe by then we'll have baseball to watch. But you're in that weird sports ball period where football is gone, hockey is irregular, baseball's not started. I'm not a basketball fan, so it doesn't count for me. Maybe it does for you, but I don't watch it. So where do you go? Where does Tom Brady go? Where do you as a worker go in? And I guess to some degree, I really am talking to the men, because men more than women, studies show, very often will define themselves by their careers, or it's much easier for a man to define himself by his career than a woman. A woman very often defines herself by her family, by her friends, by things she does out of work. Men define themselves by their work. And when you let it go, what do? Tom Brady couldn't let it go. And he came back for an embarrassing year, and now he is going to have to let it go. And there's just something remarkable about that. There's something remarkable about his career. He set league single-season records for completions, for pass attempts while throwing for 4,643 yards, 25 touchdowns, 9 interceptions in his final season. But they ranked dead last in rushing offense and forced to rely almost on Brady's arm. He was surrounded. This is kind of why I feel bad about him and Aaron Rodgers, and I assume Aaron Rodgers will stay in the league for another year. He doesn't want to be overshadowed by Tom Brady's retirement. But both of them in their final years looked to be like players surrounded by a team of people who didn't know how to play. They had to be surrogate coaches for their team. And I felt bad for, you looked like Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady were both having to coach the team around them in their last season, and it didn't go well for either one of them. Brady will join Fox Sports. He has a 10-year, $375 million deal, so don't feel too bad for him. But it's just kind of remarkable to me and kind of sad and melancholy that he retired last year with some pressure from his wife and kids to finally be home with them and not on the road and build a relationship with them. And that all fell apart. So he went back for one more year, and that all fell apart. And now he's back into retirement again and having to let it go and do something else and find his way in life. And I don't know, if I can learn anything from this, Tom Brady's only losing season ever in the NFL was last year. If I can learn only one thing from this, it's that I myself have to be cautious to not define myself so much by this, behind this microphone with all of you, that I don't define myself as a husband and a father, which in the grand scheme of things in eternity is way more important than this microphone. This microphone provides so much that I can then use to provide for my family. But I don't ever want to be under the delusion that I am somebody because of this microphone. I'm somebody because I have a wife and I have kids. And this is actually the ancillary thing, and I got to recalibrate myself every once in a while and remind myself of that. And probably I suspect a lot of you do too. Of course, if I let that go, they get half, so I might as well stick with it. But in reality, you get my point. Don't define yourself so much by your career that you ruin your life outside of your career with your spouse and your kids, because they're way more important. They're going to survive your career. Your career, don't get too anchored to it that it screws up the rest of your life. Now, I have had questions from some of you over the last couple of months. With the economy the way it is, some of you have wanted more recommendations on where you can go, particularly if you're interested in precious metals. And Advantage Gold reached out. We've been looking into them, and we're happy to bring them on as a new advertiser. With the economy the way it is, with inflation the way it still is, with turmoil in the stock market and the bond market, if you're interested at all in precious metals, you might want to look at Advantage Gold. They're TrustLink's #1 highest rated gold company for the last 7 years in a row. They've got the best prices, the best staff, and they have one hell of an IRA department able to help you with this. They want to give you a free gold IRA investment kit that tells you what you need to know, so you can call them 800-450-2566 today. They can help you with a lot of questions. They got high ratings for 7 years from TrustLink. They're the #1 highest rated gold company for 7 years. They have the best prices and staff. They've got an excellent IRA department. If you're interested in precious metals in your IRA, they want to give you a free gold IRA investment kit. Call them 800-450-2566 today. They're amazing. They can answer your questions you might have, including if you've got your current retirement account. See if it qualifies. So call them at 800-450-2566. That's 800-450-2566. Don't sit with the stock market the way it's going right now, up and down and up and down and up and down. Inflation continuing to grow, wiping out your current retirement savings. See if Advantage Gold can help you. The #1 TrustLink's highest rated gold company. They've got a great IRA department. See if your IRA qualifies. See what they can do to help you. Get the free gold IRA investment kit, 800-450-2566. Call them today. Welcome back. The phone number is 877-973-7425. Should you wish to be on the program, I am glad to have you with me today. You can also subscribe to the email by texting DATA to 33777. Text DATA to 33777. We are going to reach out to Nikki Haley's team, see about getting her on the program as well with her announcement coming. Real quick, I'm going to weigh into something impolite. I was asked, and we were very hesitant in wanting to proceed in the way they wanted to proceed to talk about Newsmax. This is my friend Congresswoman Lauren Boebert on the floor of the House of Representatives.
At midnight, Tuesday, January 24th, 2023, Newsmax was removed from DirecTV, DirecTV Stream, and Uverse, denying 13 million customers this highly rated news channel. This is not the first time that we've seen this, and I'm afraid that it won't be the last time that we are seeing this here in our great country. OAN was deplatformed by DirecTV in April of 2022. So what's next? Fox News? Will the Weather Channel be canceled next if they refuse to bow to the left's altar of climate change?
Look, I don't want to pick a fight with my conservative friends, but it's hard to take people seriously on other things when this gets so misrepresented. Newsmax, which I've been on the network, I'm friends with several of the anchors. It wasn't taken off DirecTV because DirecTV wanted to get rid of a conservative network. It still has Fox. It brought on The First that has Dana Lash and Jesse Kelly and Bill O'Reilly and several others. It's another conservative news outlet. What actually happened was Newsmax tried to get DirecTV to pay it. It had been giving DirecTV the channel without compensation. DirecTV said it didn't have enough subscribers to warrant paying Newsmax to be on the satellite, so they dropped it. It was a business decision. It was not cancellation. It wasn't censorship. And when we say it's canceling and censorship and stuff like that, we discredit ourselves when we ignore the actual business here that simply Newsmax wanted to charge DirecTV, and DirecTV said no. That's all that happened.
Judy was boring.
Hello.
Then Judy discovered ChumbaCasino.com.
It's my little escape.
Now Judy's the life of the party.
Oh, baby, mama's bringing home the bacon.
Whoa, take it easy, Judy. The Chumba life is for everybody. So go to ChumbaCasino.com and play over 100 casino-style games. Join today and play for free for your chance to redeem some serious prizes. ChumbaCasino.com. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18+ terms and conditions apply. See website for details.